I want to acknowledge that we're blessed to have very committed and knowledgeable people that are coming to these community boards, that are on the committees, folks that really, nobody gets paid here. If somebody is, please let me know, because I'm looking for a couple of dollars here. Nobody gets paid, or if you're getting paid, then we'll find you out, because you'll be, you're here for other reasons than the community. You're here for self, So we really appreciate all the good questions. We got folks over here that really know how to ask the hard ones, and are good. We're very good at it. We really appreciate that. Our next up, we don't want to keep it too long because they've been patiently waiting. We have our Totem group here. Thank you for coming again. I think they feel good. We usually get somebody. We usually get them first. They have to now they see we don't discriminate. we can't. So you've seen us in action. You sat through the woo. I gotta say they're persistent, consistent. He comes back and forth. I don't know, glut for punishment, but he comes right back and he works with. Became like family. They're working with us, trying to work it out, trying to get to a point where we can do it together. And I thank you for coming.
Thanks, man.
And you answered a lot of questions. We had a special meeting during the week with some questions. I think I said to every committee member, you answered some particular questions that I thought you had, or folks who were, I thought it from our meetings. And he drilled down on those. And really, very honest, please, can you share I think he has the short. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having us back. Just as a refresher, the committee had sent us a number of questions after last month. So we wanted to use the balance of time tonight to kind of go through those granularly.
Please.
In the lead up to what we believe is certification in probably the June timeline. So the first couple of slides, many folks have seen before. The first slide is the project area, just as a refresher. And then the updated proposal as it stands after many months of back and forth on updates. We're going to go through it more granularly though. So do you need another copy?
No, I have one. She came.
You have one?
Yeah.
Okay. So first off, we wanted to capture again all of the changes that have been made after dialogue with the community board and feedback for us about updates you'd like to see. So that's the table that you see here. I think it's the third slide. Fourth slide. And just to go through these quickly, and then we're going to go through them in greater detail. But the Herkimer Street demapping has been removed as requested. The building heights are in the process of being modified, and when we come back in June, post-certification, we'll be able to share in greater detail what we've been able to achieve with city planning, but we expect a range of reduction from between 50 and over 100 feet, so 5 to 10 stories across the board. Public space creation, you just heard from our colleagues
elaborate further on
at EDC.
actual height? You said, for folks that might not have
Actual heights, the buildings, the tallest building was at 400 feet and will come down to just south.
Translate that into stories?
Approximately, a good rule of thumb to use is about 12 feet per story.
Yeah.
So about tallest building of 28 to 30 stories.
Oh.
Yeah. But there's a range of buildings, and others have come down to under 20 stories, 17 stories. So
What's the R again?
the R equivalent is an R10.
I think it was 27.
That's still 40.
Okay, continue.
Okay.
We'll get that.
We're going to get into everything that you want to, but okay. Public space creation, you heard from our colleagues at EDC about some of the public space moves, but we're working hard to coordinate the two plazas, right? You heard EDC about their plaza to the north and our plaza to the south. It seems foolish the two plazas get built next to each other that aren't designed and constructed together. So we're working through those details with EDC to hope that happens. There's been an increase of affordable housing units from 600 to 1,000 in response to feedback from the scoping hearing about there being too much commercial space contemplated for the site and a desire for more affordable housing, which also gets to the second point about the reduction of commercial space. The retail space, and we're going to get through this, and we're going to talk through this in greater detail on subsequent slides about strategies that we think we can bring to bear here about making sure there's space that caters to small businesses from the local community and not just big box destination. And then institutional space, the desire for CUNY to come to the area, and we've been working diligently to try to acquire some signal of interest from CUNY that we could talk a little bit about further at the end here as well. To your question, my friend, forgive me, your name again? Julie. The question on the zoning, right? This actually shows the zoning map change from M12 to a mix of C64 and M16. The R equivalent for the C64 is R10. There were also, Brother Paul, I think a number of questions about uses that were permitted in the zoning.
Right.
Specifically, I think we recall a question about casino use, a question about hotel use, and a question about shelter use. So let me go through this in granular detail. While the C64, let me start with casino. Casino is not an allowable use in C64, so the rezoning would not allow for a casino development. A hotel is an allowable use in the C64, but along with the rezoning, there's an accompanying special permit that dictates the types of uses that are permissible here, and hotel is not included as a permissible use, so will not be allowable post-rezoning completion as of right. Again, would have to come back for a special permit and would come back to you for, go through a whole new Euler process actually to allow for a hotel use. Shelter use is allowable under the C64, but not included in our special permit use, and can be addressed not through the zoning, but through the restrictive declaration, Brother Paul, that we've been talking about applying for here. We have no intention of building a shelter here. It's not in any of our plans, and we're happy to make it a banned use during the restrictive deck process. So from a zoning perspective, 3 uses that you had concerns about, I think we can adequately say will not be permitted on this site.
Do that agreement.
Correct. Okay? Liz, you wanna go?
Yep. So on the affordable housing, we have up to 1,000 units now of affordable housing split between 3 different buildings. We call them B, C, and D. And the affordable housing programs are getting feedback from the community board, wanting to see Ella specifically, and the next slide shows to it. But so what that means for the first building is about 230 units, ranging in AMIs from 30 to 80% of AMI, and the unit types would be ranging from studio to 3-bedroom units for that first building. And then as the next 2, so HPD won't have us have all of them come in at the same time. So we sort of, the Ella is our intention, and so for the first building, that's what it would look like. What's the average of the AMI? So the average AMI would be 60. Right now, we're looking at AMIs at 30, 50, 60, and 80 to get to there.
Let's translate that into dollars, mathematically, which is 30% of the amount would be about $42,000, somewhere around that. But we can
Yes.
run these percentages, but I like to put it into dollars. So that when your family free.
A good rule of thumb is to kind of take $100,000 as the AMI and then add 10,000, is the way I think about it in my head. So at
It's
30% of AMI.
It's $142,000 AMI that they're using.
Right, but
30%
at
of that.
30% of AMI plus 10%, you're at 42 basically. So that's how I do it in my head to make it, but people,
Okay.
can go about it the wrong way.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
60% is $84,000. Okay, so that's what we have to think about, folks. The average AMI in this community is 40,000, so let's be generous. 40,000, okay? So that's what we're talking about. Okay, please.
So the 30%.
If you look at
is
the next slide,
42,000?
Right.
that's a good
Yeah,
benchmark.
that's right.
If you look at the next slide, it actually gives you a good range for kind of
50 is
precedent.
like
50, 70.
60, 70, depending on the family size. Yeah.
Precedent projects that are
Percentages.
in the neighborhood right now. You kind of see a range here of how distribution works, right? Kind of the different distribution of percentages of the affordability bands.
So that's slide 7, where you see the precedents that we talked about on Ella. And then, so the next slide some of these don't have numbers, sorry. Slide 8 is essentially, we just saw EDC present the number of infrastructure improvements happening at Broadway Junction and a number of times, and we're going to continue to hear this, and we believe in coordination. Folks out here have wanted to make sure that anything that happens at Broadway Junction is coordinated, right? So right underneath the EDC timeline, what we've done is start to superimpose the timeline for the first building constructed. And so, well, for the NTA timeline, you see them finishing construction towards the end of 2027. And so our first building, assuming approval this year, then 2 years of design, would start construction the earliest end of 2027, early 2028. So there wouldn't be an overlap there. And then
And that's assuming that HPD subsidy comes within a 2-year time period,
Yes.
which we have no control over, but you kind of asked for worst case scenario, so we're trying to show that the MTA, the ADA infrastructure improvement should be completed before we would even break ground on our first building.
yes.
Yep, so the next section was in response to, I think, some questions about engagement with CB5 constituents and community-based organizations. This here is a list of about, 75 organizations, resident associations, individuals, but I would urge you to consider this as a running list and an open list. We're literally having conversations. I had 4 conversations today, 2 of those with new groups. We're going out to East New York Restoration tomorrow at the chair's request. So we are consistently having those conversations. If there are other groups that you want us to be talking to or that we should be talking to, we're happy to take those recommendations. We do have all of these project updates, I will just note, on the Herkimer Williams website. One of the other suggestions that was given to us was to re-up a survey that we had done 2 or 3 years ago on this process. We're in the process of building that into that website. We hope it'll be done mid this week, and we'll take you up on sending that out in the Friday newsletter, I believe, that you said that is a possibility. Yeah, so that's one other follow-up. I think the next question was around space for job training, community uses, community organizations, community facility space, et cetera. Just as a refresher about the commercial space in the updated proposal, one of the biggest points of feedback we had heard was that there was too much commercial space. So somewhere over 700,000 square feet total in the original proposal. That has been right-sized to about 440,000 square feet in the updated proposal. That also allows for preservation of about 100,000 square feet of industrial space in the later phases of our development. One of the things we heard about was kind of ensuring interaction between the IBZ to the south and businesses that kind of grow out of that space, having space to move into in the junction. So that has been built in. Tucker mentioned the community facility space for an institutional anchor like the CUNY. We also have set aside approximately 85,000 square feet of community facility space in Building D that we are holding for CUNY. We have extended an option to them. Like Tucker said, we are talking to them. We are hopeful that we will get a response from them that we can share with you that, essentially pledges to consider this space in the future. But I will also say, we had a conversation today with somebody who was asking about community facility space. There is flexibility within that space for other community institutions and the like who might be interested in taking that. But these are largely in the later phases, so I did want to speak to the next slide, which is a space that we've conceptualized in the first building, Building B, which Liz spoke to about the affordable housing, which is contemplated as mostly housing now, about 230 units. But because we wanted folks to see as an early indication that this is also a space for job and training opportunities, we've been working with a number of local community partners to conceive of a green economy hub there that will be offering job training for seekers looking for opportunities in the green economy, as well as for industrial businesses looking to tap into the supply chain opportunities that are coming down the line. And finally, there will also be flex multi-purpose space, community facility space in this initial building as well for programs and other community-based organizations to program. And then the last piece is just a quick update on timing.
Yeah, we mentioned at the beginning that it looks like certification should happen next month. And then there's also our contact info again here to access this whenever you'd like. Okay.
And just really quickly, we will, Tucker was talking about a June meeting, we will have renderings for the next meeting.
Thank you. We appreciate that you've reached out, and I think I sent you a number, and I'm calling folks to get your numbers so they can engage. I just went through the charter list of people who've engaged. I see that maybe find 5 that I know that are based on this side, so we're going to increase that. I think what we're at a point now with this project is we're going to get down to the nuts and bolts. The CUNY aspect, Boris, you know like I know, money. We've been thinking about trade school from the beginning. We were talking about the fact that we were talking to health and hospitals and about the fact of their need for space. Especially I was over there now. They just launched at Pickens Avenue in Pennsylvania. Just launched a mental health wing. So with Chris Banks. So we have to really think, folks. Space is going to become a premium. And anybody that's out here that's servicing the community at large, like I like places like Gotham because anybody can be seen. Everybody can get health care at Gotham. That's the best kept secret in the city. You can go to Gotham and get health care. So anything we can do to support the things that support us, we have to be mindful. So we have to really organize and real quick, certify to get ourselves prepared to participate. I'm going to ask, there's a question. Anybody have any questions from the community or board? Personally, I'm looking at your face all night. I know you have one. I want you to ask it out loud.
But Paul, sorry, Mr. Chair, is that...
No.
I do want to start, I usually start on fire, right? But I do want to start with a compliment because it does seem like you're taking, you're listening and you're also applying that listening, right? Like,
There you go.
taking away the demapping. Every meeting, we get, like you said, is a glutton for punishment, but they're listening and they're applying as they go, right? It's just chipping away. So I do want to commend you for that. Because you're on the hot seat, but I do want to wait for some renderings. You talked about stories and feet. We need to see that in the next meeting, I hope, right? Per building, where we're at, how much has decreased versus the initial proposal. With CUNY, I hope we're moving forward, looking forward to more progress about commitments, and I know that has to do with capital, with dollars, in the budget. But overall, I just want to say. And then updating this plan also concretely with instead of like working with DCP to reduce building heights, tell me exactly for each building, and then we're gonna have to drill down on the AMIs. You know this.
We know the drill.
So those are the things that we're looking forward to getting more, like as you say, the nuts and bolts. But so no question, but just generally those sentiments. I know we have more conversations to come.
Yeah, but I agree with you. They've come a long way. That's how I see your face. You have a question?
No, I would just echo what Boss just said.
I'm gonna come across the community. I'll be with you in a minute. I'm just calling anybody from the
Actually
community.
manifesting your commitment to work with us.
Thank you.
And that's
Means a lot to
what
us.
convinces us to do
You've been
what
trying.
we think is best for us.
Thank you. I really want to get the community, anybody from the community that's not on the board. Do you understand what's going on here? Because I really know, dude, it's this is not a test question like you could fail. I've seen. Hi, how are you? I'm glad you're here. This is your community board. This is your committee. Thank you for coming. Thank you so much. Are you new members or just coming in just to check the committee board?
No, we just come.
I think you do your homeowners, you live, your homeowners, you live, you rent.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. It's all about,
1205.
huh?
We 11205.
That's on the other side. Do 11208 and 70. Okay. Yes, this Broadway Junction, you know about that, where you slide down the stairs or you roll down the escalator and you pray that it works when you go home. So they're building there, they have interest there, they're looking to build some towers there. They were the Tower of Babel till we got to bring them down. They came down, so we're glad, but, and they're trying to work with us on how to make, it fit the quality of life we want as people here. And again, and respectful of what you own here?
Yes.
How long have you owned?
18 years.
18 years. Both of you?
Yes.
18 years? Newbies. Now, my family bought 54 years ago.
I'll take that station a couple times because I have to.
Right.
I have no choice.
Right.
I know what's going
Yeah,
on.
we're making it better. Now that we get a little older, knees don't work, they're finally getting ADA accessibility there. So it's a good place to be and it's a good place to be. There's a building behind, excuse me, what's your name again, sir? Yeah,
Jimmy.
Jimmy.
Yeah, so, briefly, I'm new to the board.
Right.
I'm here primarily just to listen.
Right.
And understand the pressing issues.
Right.
And need some help in the beginning of my term as a
Thank- Jimmy, where do you live?
I live right there in New Lots. New Lots there in Sheffield.
Okay,
Been
so
here my entire life.
that's what I wanted to hear.
Lifelong East New Yorker, and I'll keep it that way.
Yeah. Broadway Junction, you go there?
Absolutely.
Good workout?
Do I work?
Good workout with the stairs?
Yeah, bro.
Thank you. All right, so anybody else from the community, Ro, I'm coming to you. Anybody else? Ro.
So, I know that in the last meeting, you guys said that, there are HPD doesn't have any programs for home ownership. And I'm hearing now in light of, first, I want to echo what Boris and Odessa said. Like, just the changes all through this whole process have been, it's commendable. But if HPD doesn't have a program and we are expanding the housing offerings, is there any way, I mean, you guys are developers, I know you kind of know people at banks, can partner to get some kind of home ownership process or program built into this that's maybe entirely from the private sector, but it's showing the equity of the community.
Yeah.
The other thing is, when we drill into this AMI, and even if, we're getting closer to our neighborhood's AMI affordability, which is, I think, about 40% of AMI. Less than that. What kind of protections, I know that after a certain period of time, when you go through the housing lottery, your rent can be raised. And you can, what kind of protections do the people that get those have 10 years from now, And
Yeah.
so it doesn't just turn over.
So, thank you, Ro. You've been consistent every time you've been here. So I'm glad you hold our feet to the fire. And I can only continue to repeat, because I promised everyone, I'm never going to lie to you. I can only tell you what I can do and what I can't do. So I'm not aware of any private sector solution that builds 100% affordable housing. In fact, it would be the holy grail for our entire country if we could find it, right?
That's not affordable homeownership. For affordable
Yes,
homeownership.
affordable homeownership. Sorry, I misspoke on affordable housing, affordable homeownership. But it's true on both counts, actually, so. That said,
Right.
what I expressed to committee leadership before, all I can do is advocate with HPD to explore avenues for, there are homeownership programs. They're just very limited in scale and size and subsidy. What would be helpful, to the extent there's a spirit of collaboration here, is when you issue your opinion here, which is hopefully a yes and, as opposed to a no and, but it's your prerogative, you'll do it again. It is helpful to be very explicit about the things that you want to see, so that as we get to later stages here, particularly with the city council, they can be helpful with us in advocating with HPD to have the project reflect your priorities, right?
Okay.
So I cannot promise you that on my own, I can say that if you advocate for it, we're committed to trying to advocate for it, and let's see what progress we can make with HPD.
Let me just add something. We had Luz here,
Uh,
our co-chair of economic. Luz, she's HPD. Wait a minute, she told, there is a HPD part that does with, and when we say home ownership, folks, I like to make it clear. The folks throw around home real loose. It's some sort of equity apartment ownership, cooperative, something like that apartment. They're not building individual homes. It would be owning some equity in that apartment, like a co-op condo or something like that. They in the project that Pastor Bernard is building up, they got small townhouses they call masonettes. So we're talking about trying to own an apartment or something. But there's an HPD, but it's underfunded. We could talk. Now, that's what so that was mentioned. We're going to be collaborating land use and economics to try to work together for collaboration. But I want to say something that he said. And when he used the word collaborate, we heard EDC refer to them. Notice that. EDC referred to them what they're doing. But what about the collaboration? Like we asked about that land. I like about that land that's going to be half used, but we can't find any parking spaces over there. So why couldn't they build a municipal parking site? See, you got land, but you have no vision to make it comfortable. There's different things with collaboration that can be done to make a project work. If EDC can refer to you and what you're doing, and EDC's across the street doing something else over there, it behooves us to both, our tax dollars at work. If he's building with Ella, that's your tax dollars. If they're doing EDC with it, that's your tax dollars. Then collaborate so we make sure we get the best we can out of it, and that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna push for folks to talk to you. And this will finish on the last thing, because I got some more. I want to make sure you know before you ask the question.
Yeah.
We asked him about his property that he owns in that corridor between they also spoke about the LIR. He owns property there. We asked for a visioning of what he plans to build there, because again, EDC is building in that same corridor. So the left hand and the right hand, I know what they're doing before we hold one person to the fire. We have to coordinate the fact that he's doing what he's doing, EDC's doing what they're doing, where we at, third base. So, and that's the Long Island Road, and that's the state. But, so there's a lot of moving parts here that we have to be very mindful of.
So it was a two-part question, but also, I know that the HPD has those programs, and they were flourishing in the like 90s and early aughts, and then they've disappeared, and they're underfunded. So only way,
subsidies.
yeah, so anyway, but it was a two-part question about how do we keep,
Rent escalations, right?
the rent, the people who are there and at 40% of AMI
Yep.
or whatever.
So once the project enters the HPD term sheet program, it becomes heavily regulated. For all intents and purposes, it becomes public ownership. In terms of how it looks and feels and operates, even if the title is still held by, which in this case, it would be held by, there's a intermediary nonprofit even that holds the title to the property in order to be eligible for the HPD subsidy, right? So then the project becomes heavily regulated by the HPD regulatory agreement, and built into the public regulatory agreement is what is allowed for rent escalations. Again, not our decision, it's the city policy that it runs. I believe it's tagged to some percentage of CPI,
Yeah, it's
which is
usually
basically some percentage of inflation.
Yeah, it's usually the lesser of that, and then if rent regulation, like the rent guidelines board votes, so whatever the lesser amount is, that's the amount that is.
But we as the developer
Yeah.
are not in a position to raise the rents out of keeping with that regulatory agreement.
When we talk about the, what is it,
LO.
the agreement that we're going to do.
Restricted declaration.
Restrictive declaration. I'm saying if there's a way that we can, within that restrictive declaration.
Acknowledge that.
Acknowledge that and
Sure.
keep people in their homes beyond, and not just have it tied to rent regulation, rent guidelines board, the consumer price index,
Yes,
some
even better
combination
than
of
rent
that.
guidelines board,
But-
it's set by the city.
Have it set by something, some agreement that, hey, this is the community that was here, this is the community that's gonna be here.
We're happy to work with you.
So the rent regulatory that you're talking about
Yes.
with HPD, is that a part of the whole DHCR?
It's part of the Ella program. So when
Right.
we enter into Ella to get the subsidy, there's a regulatory agreement that accompanies it.
Mhm.
And it's guided by all of the public regulations on the future operation of the building.
Okay, and I know you said Ella for the first building, for the next two, is that gonna be Ella as well?
The intention is for Ella, but let's see what happens. There may be some desire for more moderate income in a future phase or whatever, again, whatever you recommend, let's go advocate for the HPD.
Okay. I personally wanna thank you guys.
Yeah.
I want to thank you because, I've been sitting here not saying much because I was at the meeting with Board Member Torres and we hashed out some things. And like I said to you before, you're listening. Not only are you listening, you're coming back with hardcore decisions that you've made by the recommendation of the community board. And I publicly want to thank you guys for that. And when I go to Borough Hall and you guys come before, I will assure you that I will say the same thing there. So I just want to thank you for listening to the community, listening to the board most of all, and it is a partnership, You're not going nowhere, we're not going nowhere. We love our community. We want to make sure the people that's in this community get to stay in this community. We don't want the community to change because we were here during the drug time. We was here during the violence. We were here during the graffiti, So we want to be here now to reap the benefits of the
Future, yeah.
of the future and the beautification.
Thank you.
So I just want to thank you guys.
Thank you very much. It means a lot to us.
I have one question. Is there any plans to build some type of office space in these buildings? And if not, this is probably a question for EDC, but for the surrounding areas, are you thinking about looking into like co-working spaces and things because of Broadway Junction getting advanced
Yeah.
and it being like a hub of transportation? That would be good.
Liz, you want to talk to us?
Yeah. Yes, so we are, if you split all the way to the end, in case you're a visual person, there's 4 buildings that you see, B, C, D, and E. And so everything in red is contemplated as office. It is over the course of a 10-year build.
Red or blue, actually. It's a community facility, could be occupied by those
Yes.
types of uses.
Yes,
right? So-
that is, yes.
But it's about 400,000 square foot plus of commercial space,
Yes,
which is
about
a lot
440.
of commercial space. So, and we're regularly in touch with small businesses and other companies that have already started to reach out to us, even though it's years in advance, about trying to secure space. And we're keeping a list and keeping in touch with those folks. And so if you have ideas about operators for co-working or other folks you want to, our contact info's in here, don't hesitate to reach out and give us ideas and connect us with people.
Yeah.
And there is a small component in the green incubator or green economy hub in building B that is
Space.
contemplated as some co-working space as well. Yeah.
Thank you.
Just thinking about, for ourselves, don't want to do CBAs. What's the CRE? What's the CRE?
Restricted declaration.
So we have to be mindful of making agreements with things. Everybody, CBAs has shown that big folks. And Ratley used that very wisely. They went bankrupt on that room, and they see, when CBA's community-based agreement, you agree that there's something will be built there, and you have a nice plan with folks, and all of a sudden, the corporation that you had agreement with goes bankrupt, your agreement is dead. So we're looking at tying the agreement to the land. Because if he sells, whoever he sells to buys us too. We're not gonna negotiate with one time. So if they sell it, they're selling us with it. We just that. Now, I want to get a little drill down more on that zoning, and Julia, I need help.
I mean, when they get certified next month, they'll have to present the MIH option that they're seeking, unless you're ready to answer that question now. But with the tenants of Ella, it sounds like it's gonna be MIH, it'd be option 3.
I think
One, 2, and 3.
1, 2, and 3 are getting mapped, but Ella's the intention, so it would go well beyond the MIH requirement, obviously.
And you said an average of 60, do you know what the percentage of the unit breakdown would be? If it's gonna be like 25% at 80 AMI?
For an MIH building,
Well, Ella is.
for Ella, for the 100% Ella building.
Mhm.
So they break down the AMIs that are being used are 4, so it's 30.
No, you know the AMI.
Oh,
What's
okay.
the percentage of units at each.
Oh, the percentage of units at each AMI.
Well, the building has not been designed
Yeah.
yet, but so we can give you percentages based on bands that we anticipate, right? I'm just saying, if we're at 230 and it ends up being 17 instead of 20, I don't wanna be- okay,
That's
yeah,
it,
yeah.
like, what's the ballpark?
Yeah, I
figure?
think-
Are you looking for like 25% of the AMI?
So when we come in June, why don't we give you a whole
Yeah, we'll
table that
come,
breaks it out?
because I don't have it by, yeah.
And we can show you what we're contemplating
So
now in conversations with HPD.
That works, and with the R10, since that is the city's highest density zoning, are you looking
Well, it
to
was,
have-
now City of Yes is high up, yeah.
I mean,
But I hear you. Yeah.
it's a bonus, you know,
Yes.
bulk, if you
Yeah.
add more under UAP and
Yes.
Yeah.
fresh and all of that other stuff. You guys are gonna be next to a church, so you can buy their errands. So there's lots of stacking you can do, absolutely. That's why, like with the R10, are you going to be seeking to have any type of, oh my God, what's the thing? Like, R6A and B, what is that?
Mark?
A modifier?
Uh,
Modifier?
Yeah, it's like, what we have R6 and you have R6A, you have
Yeah,
R6.
I don't think R10 has a letter modifier,
Sure they do, they have R10A, they have R10X, like,
do they? I'm not aware.
I didn't know.
It's governed by, we're governed by the special permit, and so the special permit, you know, overrides the R10 equivalency.
okay, so, yeah, just to share, Lawrence's and previous times, but Paul's point, the height of these buildings is actually a little bit problematic, especially considering they're towering over elevated train tracks. You know, that's a lot of violations. And so when you're talking about that much density, and then you're talking about having to dig down that deep, you're talking about amplifying these types of vibrations. You're also talking about creating a sound tunnel in effect, because all of that materials that these trains are going to be bouncing off of, you know, I live up the hill right now, I can hear the L train on Wilson Avenue.
Me too.
That's how, I can hear the J train up on top of the hill now. 5 years ago, I couldn't, but that's because of all of the 14-story buildings along
bouncing.
Atlantic Avenue.
In the valley effect.
10-story buildings along Fulton Street now, so I just want you guys to be mindful. I know the City of Yes for carbon neutrality, there are some buffers that you're supposed to be using in terms of building into the buildings.
Right.
But when you get certified, I will drill down on
There's
if
setbacks
you're going to
from
be seeking any lead
NTA
buildings,
too.
or if it's just going to be standard, whatever the minimum is in carbon neutrality.
Okay, yeah, I'll tell you right now, for Building B, we're contemplating trying to go for passive now, so even beyond need.
That's even better.
Yeah, but,
Yeah, no, I don't have one.
yeah,
So
let's keep talking.
Yeah, see, these, and again, folks, when I started this, I was on zoning for dummies, and I'm still only one page past that. I read the glossary. But you're hearing things now that you're gonna have to get, we're gonna try to, you know, break it down a little bit. But we're talking about what the capabilities when people build, and they come to say what they're gonna build, but they're also the possibility what they can build, you know? It's like saying you tell somebody you can move in your house for a month and they stay a year. You gave the okay in the beginning, and they're in. So we're trying to work it, if we get the most out of it. We know these folks are not social services. These are business folks. I want to make it very clear. This is not the city building for you. This is not the state. They're business folks. They have the right to make a profit on their property. And I respect that, you know what I mean? But we also, since it's here, we're not just going to just say, okay, do what you want to us. You know what I mean? We're here. And the key to the whole thing that you're hearing is the policies. The policies. He said it very nicely. He said, I can try, but HPD sets policies that he gets to build under. He can only answer it, he can do the best he can, and he can build according to what our legislators legislate. So when you come here, remember when these elected officials come to see you, they're the ones that sign off these laws. They give them the right to do what they do. So when you say, oh, somebody's doing something, you complain to them, you need to tell them, what are you doing? How did you allow that? So remember what you're learning here, what you're not counting. Ask them the hard questions, right? And we'll help you.
Who's having been a hard question?
No, not you. We're talking about the elected official.
MTA is supposed to come in June.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
you know, we're gonna have MTA at June, so we can ask a lot of those questions then as well.
And remember, folks, nothing's affordable without a job.
That's right.
Nothing's affordable without a job. Stop there with the building. Who's gonna pay for it? Hello? So you want to find out how do we work? Build with us, not on top of us. Ethel?
I have wanted to know about the square footage of the apartments. Are they studio 1, 2, and 3? And the square footage of each of them?
We need to bring it for you next month. I don't know off the top of my head. I know a lot of things. I don't know what the yellow term sheet says in terms of minimums, but it's set in the yellow term sheet, so we can put a table together.
No jail cells,
Well, that's what.
no jail cells. We
HPD
don't
says
do
325 square
350
feet.
jail cells. We do not
That's a cell.
agree.
I want to make sure, you know, all that development in the South Bronx, all those buildings have like corridors.
No,
I just want to make sure that none of us have any of those.
Yes.
You mean like one AMI would get one door and one another?
Yes,
No.
like
And
it's
in
like
the-
We went.
they go
They're on the
in.
West Side Drive.
No,
Like,
there's
yeah.
none of that.
Okay,
Right,
good.
but we stress, and we did a resolution that we don't want 300, 350
It's mixed income.
feet studios,
Yeah.
because we have seniors that, they need to have some dignity too. They need to be able to have somebody that's gonna be in the room with them, that they could put at least a little recliner or something. 350, they can't even put their bed in there. I mean, that's all they can put in there.
Kitchen
is their
table,
bed.
here's the tub.
You know, so we don't want jail cells, so please, 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 when y'all are chopping it up, the sizes of the studios and the 1 bedroom, the 2 bedroom, please.
But that is another question to give to your elected officials. I can't stress it enough. Stop letting them come to you and give you that old song and dance. Oh, we're building cells. And get the language right. They're not building homes, they're building apartments.
But-
It's a different definition. A home is a home, represents equity. An apartment is apartment, represents rent. Rent is infinite.
Just want to say
Well,
that when
finite.
we had the last developers before us, I think it was Grace, we honed down on the studios. And they were receptive, they went to the drawing board, and they came back with favorable of what it is we want.
And hopefully listen to those lessons learned from that hopefully you could share with us too.
Right.
Yes, ma'am.
Take into consideration equipments, visual disabilities, maybe temporary. So, you know, they need that space to consider.
But all these, see all these you're asking them for? I'm gonna keep saying it to you. Your elected officials set the guidelines they have to build to. You're asking them to do from their heart. They're business folks.
Well,
No, but I'm gotta say
somewhere in
it.
between.
Yeah, but they're still business folks. They're buying, they
Together
own,
we
they
can
own.
advocate for things.
You can
Yeah.
advocate, but it becomes law. We live under law. And that's your tax dollars, your money. So tell these elected officials that they want to put guidelines in law that represent your interests. That's how you get it done. You're not gonna get it done. We'll get some folks that'll work with us to have good faith. But law is law. Your taxes, 25%, 35%, that's the law. So please, let your city, state, and federal know, if you're not happy with something when they come to see you, start talking about it. You vote for them, right? Make them vote for you. There you go. I'm not running for anything.
I just want to share with everybody, this evening at 6 p.m., we were on News Channel 2 about the ADA accessibility downstairs. You know, Ms. Pugh has been on the board for several years, and we haven't been able to get the lift fixed. Channel 2 picked up the story. The police department spokesman said that they're supposed to get parts in by the end of the month. And hopefully it gets moving. No, we're not getting a brand new lift like Brother Paul wanted. But this is the start, so at least she can get in the building. At least when she gets in the building, if it breaks down again, then we have to get a new one. But we have to get something, some kind of traction, because she's not gonna be able to attend any more meetings. You know, it's been 2 years. So I know the chair is upset because we're not getting a new one. But at least people outside of these four walls know what's going on in this community board. And I think the more people that know about it, shame on NYPD, shame on the borough president, shame on our elected officials. It's going to get done, hopefully now. So I just wanted to share that it was on Channel 2 News today at 6 o'clock. They may repeat it tonight at 10 or 11. I'm not sure. You might be able to Google it. But I just want you to know that I am constantly fighting for this community. Okay? Constantly fighting for the community, the rights of our people, to make sure that everybody has an opportunity to come into whatever building that they like. And right now, people who are disabled cannot. So I just wanted to share that.
We'll pause that. Let me tell you why I made the face. Patching, if I'm gunshot, you put a Band-Aid over it, does not fix me. It just slows down the blood. That lift that's downstairs is antiquated and outdated. These chairs now, when they put that in there, they had wheelchairs and so. These motorized chairs got air conditioned, bathtub, shower, everything. They weigh 500 pounds by themselves. The lift maximum that's on there now is 550 to 650 pounds. So if you fix that, and I get on it, I weigh 280 pounds like him. But we get, it's not going to, so you're not going to get me off it. Get rid of it. The police department had $11 billion budget last year. They run this building. It's $45,000, I looked it up, for the lift. You've been out of compliance for 2.5 years. It's beyond patching. This building has not been ADA accessible for people with those kind of chairs for 2.5 years. You're not going to pacify me with that. You got away with, put the right specification in there. Because I was the one stood with her for 45 minutes on that and watched her trauma. I watched her I stayed with her when other people left. With police officers, they get her off of that. So I'm not happy with it. I watched that woman go through terror. And if she comes in here again, and that patch thing happens, I hope her file a lawsuit. So that's why I'm not applauding. We don't need a patch.
But we don't have to worry about filing a lawsuit, and if we do, the community board will be the first one to sign on to it. I just want you to know, I just want you to know that I was the one that brought to the attention of the borough president that it was out of commission. The wheelchair lift they have downstairs, that's for the regular, you know, the old-fashioned wheelchairs, the metal chairs. The ones now have the battery. And anybody that go to any YouTube page that the borough president have, you will hear Alice saying, it's outdated. It needs to be brought up to specificity of what we have now. The batteries do weigh 300, 400, and then the person weight another 200 or whatever pounds, you know? We know for a fact that is not it. When we reopened, it broke the first week. It broke the first week. And it's been patchwork. But I just wanted to share that at least we're getting some traction. Hopefully it works. If it doesn't work, then we'll fight some more. We'll fight some more. You know, I mean, we can't make them pull out the money out their pocket. Look how long we've been waiting for Broadway Junction. Look how long we've been waiting for Broadway Junction.
I'll leave that.
It's now coming to fruition, but it hasn't happened overnight. So I'm willing to give them a chance. I pray that it works. And I just wanted to share, not to go back and forth, just wanted to share that I got it out there, that a news media picked it up, and that it's not just in this building anymore. It's not just with the borough president. Now I'm sure they're getting phone calls Did y'all see Channel 2 News last night? The chairwoman was on there showing Community Board 5 with Brother Paul pushing her up the ramp, holding the umbrella. It's gonna be some talk now. Before it was just me sending emails, talking at meetings, but now the news media has picked it up. Trust and believe, you'll probably have News 12 now, asking could they do a follow-up story. You'll have News 7 saying can they do a story. And I think this is the way to get this resolved. Maybe we can get that chair that you talk about that costs $45,000. You know, maybe we can get somebody to give us a donation, a private donor, so we can get something new. Hey.
You were the-
I want to thank
Man, you see why we want this?
you. already recorded that. You guys can't.
No, when they started sliding.
Well, it's a great, and we thank you.
No,
for your
thank you,
presentation.
guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I want to. Come down.
So are you finishing the meeting now?
I'm gonna call you. I'm gonna call you. But I want to ask you. What I'm
Well,
gonna
let
ask
these
you
ladies go
about.
home because they're really
No,
good.
but I want to ask you about is that now all of you. We need you to drill down with EDC.
Yeah.
We need you because they're pointing at you. You're standing there. We know you got a plan.
Yeah.
They got a plan.
I think-
And it sounds like that old kid who's on first, second, base, third. We need you to talk.
I hope it doesn't come across that.
But that's what they
But,
did.
you
They
know-
pointed over to you when they were talking about their with that.
I think there's opportunity, as we head into certification, and each area, yes, right? That, you know, EDC can express what role it can play in this project, and then how we can also be supportive to the public realm projects, right? So,
Right. Yeah, that's what we want. To get the best for the community. That's what we want.
yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Thank you
you.
very much.
There's nothing to vote on, right? Motion to adjourn?
The first project we're not voting because they have to come back to EDC because we asked them to.
Yeah.
I also want to share that Mr. Tucker has been very, very helpful. He actually got in touch with Calvary's attorney, Calvary Baptist.
It's a church that's in Broadway Junction.
Okay.
And they're located right next to his property. And if we okay what we're doing with his property, the church gets the benefit of it. But it never came before us to say what they want to do with the community. So we're not looking to empower them, they're not good players, all right? Because once you do the land rezoning, that church is owned by them, not by him. So he's speaking for himself now. But if we do a blanket rezoning okay there, the church gets the benefit and never spoke to us about how they're going to work with the community. The church is Calvary. They already did some unscrupulous stuff happening with the
Right.
church. They sold a piece of property and did not advise their members. And that, you know, so that's what, just transparency. When we say Calvary, we talk about the church that owns property there, and we want them to come before them. Well, don't you want to hear them what they want to do with the property? And you have the right to. So that's transparency. She's just so busy, I got to do the back part. See, I'm, you know, right name there. That's it, folks. So we have the adjourn.
Horace.
Boris, my second.
You second?
Roach,
You ain't got to go home, but you got to.
Yeah.
Out of here.